All right, so we made it through all the intro to the course. Welcome, my name is Colt. Here's a prerequisites type of content. Now we can start talking about TypeScript. And I think a pretty good place to start is what exactly is TypeScript? To help answer that, we actually need to talk a little bit about JavaScript and some of its quirks, shortcomings, oddities, weirdness. If you've spent any time with JavaScript, you know that it's a little bit of a weird programming language. And that largely has to do with its development and its original goals. We'll get to that in a moment. But the fact that we can do things like multiply null times a number and not get an error, or multiply undefined times a number and not get an error, we get something different. We get not a number, whereas null times a number is a number. It's the number 0. Or even something like this, where I've got an object shape. It has a width and a height. And there's nothing wrong with me trying to access a property that doesn't exist. Shape.height, T and H swapped instead of height, that doesn't exist in the property or in the object, but I don't get an error. JavaScript just sort of silently says, that's undefined. It doesn't throw in any errors. It doesn't complain. And that tiny little issue can ruin a lot of code bases, or at least cause a lot of headaches, unexpected undefineds that you're not handling. So just a handful of small examples. They don't seem like much, but these things can add up. Not to mention the fact that there are many other quirks in JavaScript. And these quirks are there because basically JavaScript was never intended to be the ubiquitous programming language that it is today. It started its life as this little tiny 2-week project. It was created in a matter of weeks to add some simple scripting capabilities to browsers. Maybe write a couple of lines here or there. But at the time, nobody foresaw it becoming the behemoth that it is today, where a modern application in the browser might be 99% JavaScript, tens of thousands of lines potentially, with a little bit of HTML and CSS sprinkled in. So any of the issues and the quirks that started out in the language, they're still here. We're still dealing with them. So over the years, browsers and developers have responded. They've tried to improve JavaScript by basically adding in some enhancements, adding some new functionality, but never really being able to change the language itself, right? It's still JavaScript. You put some duct tape on it, and this is what we're dealing with today. Modern JavaScript. This is maybe a bit harsh on JavaScript, but the point is that there's been fixes, there's been enhancements, but at the end of the day, it is still an imperfect language, especially if you're writing 10,000 lines of code instead of a dozen lines. Those issues just become amplified. So this is where TypeScript comes in. TypeScript is a language that is built on top of JavaScript with the purpose of helping us avoid the common pitfalls and bugs that arise in JavaScript. And it seeks to improve the experience of writing JavaScript. And the way that it does that is by adding types. Now, in the next video, we'll talk more about types, but what you should know for now is that we've got JavaScript, the entire language of JavaScript, and then we have TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript, meaning that all JavaScript code is considered valid TypeScript. The difference is that TypeScript adds on this type system. It adds in these special checks, these special enhancements to the JavaScript syntax that make it a much better development experience and hopefully help us avoid bugs. So in the next video, we'll talk more about this type system.